The Artios Leadership Conversation with Amber Mann Riggs and Isreal Steinmetz, answering questions leaders are asking.
Leadership is a word that we throw around a lot. I mean,
Yes.
Artios is all about leadership.
All about leadership.
But leadership is such a loaded term.
A loaded term and a term that begs for definition.
Definitely. So, when we talk about what is a leader, how are we defining leadership?
We're defining leadership in a very broad way. And there's different ways to use the word leadership. We define it in the broadest way possible. And we're kind of taking our cue from John Maxwell, who's probably the most well-known Christian leadership guru, certainly of contemporary times. And he stated over and over again, leadership is influence. Nothing more, nothing less. Leadership is influence. And we buy into that definition because we believe that anytime you influence someone to act in a certain way, you are leading them to that degree. And so people have varied levels of influence, they have varied spheres of influence, different people they're influencing, different ways they're influencing, but everyone is influencing someone, and in that sense, everyone is a leader.
And one of the barriers that we have to embracing that definition of leadership is because from the time we're a young age, we have this idea of what a leader is.
Sure.
So I think if someone who has a really take charge personality, we say, well, you're a natural leader, but if someone's shy like me, growing up, no one was going to use the word leader to describe a shy kid.
Yeah, and that creates this dual effect where certain people will identify themselves as leaders, a small percentage, maybe 10% of people will say, I'm a leader, based on their definition of leadership. And they might be identifying themselves as a leader for all the wrong reasons.
Right.
It might be because they're controlling. It might be because they have a big personality. It might be for any number of reasons that don't necessarily lend themselves toward good leadership or Christian leadership. And then a lot of other people who certainly are leading and are influencing in various ways, like you said, they don't identify themselves as a leader. Nobody else identifies them as a leader. So we do grow up with those notions of leadership. But we're saying everyone who influences anyone is a leader. And that places a responsibility on us. If we acknowledge we're all leaders, the question isn't, am I a leader? The question is, what kind of a leader am I? What am I influencing other people to do?
And when we don't embrace leadership, when we don't recognize our ability to influence other people, it's really hard to be intentional about it.
Right. And unintentional influence is still influence, but it's typically destructive, death-dealing,
Not always.
hazardous.
Really?
Well, you tell me.
I think it can be, but I think of my grandma, who she didn't intentionally, there's no way she would have seen herself as a leader. And yet, of anyone in my life, my grandma had the most influence on me.
But do you think she was aware that she was influencing you?
I think she was aware she was influencing me, yes.
And so she might not have used the word leadership.
But from a very humble place.
Absolutely.
Like, very humble place.
Which is actually one of the key elements of Christian leadership, is leading from a place of humility.
And the other issue we deal with when we think about the definitions that we bring to leadership is we have this, follow the leader.
Yeah.
A lot of times we think of, okay, it's the leader, there's one leader, and so we think of, the CEO is the leader, the pastor is the leader. And we don't have this concept of leadership in the terms of leadership teams or leadership as influencing through other areas.
Yeah, and yet it is team leadership that we see modeled for us in the New Testament. And it's team leadership that, even if it wasn't modeled in the New Testament, what we're taught about how leadership works only works within team leadership.
Yeah, it only works.
We're taught that leaders need to be servants, that they need to be mutually submissive, that they need to be accountable, that their work is as part of a multi-gifted body where they're dependent on other moving parts in order for them to function. So leadership has to be teamwork.
Leadership is a team sport.
Leadership is a team sport. Just like the Christian life is a group adventure, not a solo quest.
And when we work together as a leadership team, it's fun to play on one another's strengths. And that means that I don't have to be responsible for everything because, God hasn't gifted me in every area. He hasn't gifted you in every area.
And so that's where playing on each other's strengths the other side of that coin is admitting our own weaknesses. To acknowledge, if I'm going to play to my strengths, that means I have strengths. It also means I have weaknesses. I have limitations. So the way that I play best to my strengths is to acknowledge I have weaknesses and there's other people who need to play to their strengths and we need to play together.